NATO. NATO officials have come out saying that they think the Third World War will be this summer, and if we're lucky, it won't be nuclear. I have to admit, I laughed my entire face off. I don't know what planet they've been inhabiting up until now, but you'd think at least one person has been here for a little while and talked to somebody. You know, in Winnipeg, Canada, Manitoba, women are disappearing 2 and 3 at a time now. So a new movement was just started, and let me tell you, we have proof of humanity because of this. Now, I am going to tell you what the people did and what the cops did. Police officers followed a group that I've decided to call them We Won't Hold Another Vigil. Police barricaded the street while a group of regular people, mostly from reserves, went into Winnipeg's most dangerous streets and went door to door, knocking down doors, going in there to try to find their missing daughters. So this search, checking on the well-being of vulnerable young women, led to a door of a crack house being knocked down. This happened Tuesday in Winnipeg's notorious North End. Worried that yet another girl, 25, would end up murdered or missing. Family members, friends, members of the Bear Clan, street patrol, because now we have to do that, because people are just going missing off the streets. All over Canada, of course. Decided to go in after one of their daughters. Aboriginal women stayed outside, drummed, sang, hoping that someone in these houses would hear them and know it was safe to go outside. These areas are known for drinking binges and drugs and young women being exploited in the sex trade. This is not a new thing, of course, on our planet. People who are vulnerable are basically thrown away. They are. Well, something's just changed in Canada. And it changed because of people saying, we aren't waiting for you anymore. We decided to break down the doors. We realized, obviously, people aren't listening. The cops won't do anything. So, the next night, Winnipeg police followed these men dressed with clan councils on their t-shirts, and they followed us all through the hood as they searched for yet another missing girl. They kicked down a door, went into the drug shacks, because it's obvious which ones they are. They found one girl who immediately made contact with her family. Said the work is not done yet, but they plan to do these walks once a week, every week, and immediately after someone does not call home. They did this together. They did it the right way. The whole community came out of their houses too, the people that lived in those areas, that weren't drunk and stoned out of their minds, and followed them, joined them, men, women, and children. The police aren't here to help you. They won't help us. So we've decided to start helping ourselves. There is a code here on this planet. The psyop that I've told you so much about. And together we are breaking that code. Not the little do-re-mi, not the ABC, not the programmed 64-bit machine AI language. Not the brother versus brother and all of them against the sisters. You know, we're seeing the same war always played out. It's why I laughed at NATO. The exact same war. You know, we have the sun god being impersonated by Jesus, who is no longer finding favor with his followers, but the sun must always set into the abyss, which is darkness, but I'm not afraid of that. And I know you guys aren't, because you listen to me. Against the very powerful right now, Allah, whose worshippers circle around 7 times a black cube, wearing a white robe, and they're naked underneath. Do you know what's inside that black cube? A yoni. A female symbol trapped by the black cube. Our religions are not about Christ. They're not about Allah. They are not about whoever the heck the Jewish people think they're waiting for this time. Because everyone thinks they're waiting for the same guy at the end. The one God thing is limiting. And of course, when there's a lot of followers believing one simple thing and praying to one simple thing and ready to die for that thing becomes pretty darn powerful. And you get benefits from being ready to kill and die for these things. You do. You really do. But I know something more important. It's really funny, you know, with some of the things that I talk to you about that sound, I realize, off the wall. Ferrari just made a design for the next vehicle that's supposed to take you to Mars and back. Do you know what it looks like? It is the shape of the thalamus in your head that stands between your 2 temples. It is our ship. It is an Ark. And they just made it, and it's freaking fantastic looking. Where's my nerds at? Give me a high five, because this baby is pretty. Makes me laugh. You know, we probably don't need that ship. We are just casting away people in this society, and of course that's what it's made for. We cast away people because we think, I don't know, they've started drinking, they've started doing drugs, so let's institutionalize them. Let's make it so in Canada 95% of the people who go to jail are brown-skinned. This is fact. This is not myth. 1/3 of those people, the women, are native. You go further north, it's 100% native. Now I realize there's a very large native community as you go north, but there's almost no white people in there. NATO thinks World War III has just begun. But I tell you something we all share. These people who are being thrown away, men in your prisons. One interesting little piece of magic that we can still do. We may not know all of the code, but we freaking put our finger on a bit of it. So 2 men decided to go to your roughest prison in the United States, and you got some pretty nasty things going on there, and take a group of men, and they had nothing to do with prison, these 2 men. They had no idea what it would be like there. They've been studying meditation, they said, for about 20 years each. So they offered to take men, whoever wanted to come, for 10 days, being isolated from the prison. But most of the guys that came were in segregation, which kills us. Isolation kills us. Loneliness kills us. We know that, right? So being cast away itself makes you crazy and kills you. Not quickly. Of course, not quickly. You become an animal, because we have a survival instinct. So they went in there, and they taught them this very intense yoga, that for 9 days you cannot say anything. You can't speak to each other. You have to get up at the sound of this bell. You go and meditate. You can't chant, but there's no communication back and forth. You eat, you exercise, you meditate, then you go to bed. This continues for 9 days. These hardened criminals, these violent men, these people who are beyond redemption, each and every one of them at the end of the 9 days was a changed man. You could see it on their face. You could feel it in their eyes. So these men started to meet in the morning. It was allowed to continue the meditation until, of course, the churches, the chapels, said, I'm not sure, we don't want them to learn all this Buddhist stuff, and stopped it for 4 years. It's just started back up again. And now it's moved to 30 of your prisons, where people are learning the chance for redemption. These people aren't cast away. These people aren't beyond redemption. That these people are worthwhile. Most of them don't have visitors. They just go and stay in the institution, and they're left to die and to rot or to kill each other and to be raped, of course. Violence and rape and drugs. We're going to go into more of that Psywar, more of the code that's been used against us. Because something beautiful, of course, can be used just as easily to kill us. It doesn't affect men differently. Because what is a man? A male. He is masculine. He is a man. It starts with ma. Does it not? But of course, men can be triggered differently, affected differently, tortured differently, as they are being. This is why there's such a divide between the ma and the pa. And of course, the brothers in general, the religions that are the same freaking thing, but no one wants to say that. I get in trouble at least once a show if someone's emailing me or messaging me. It's not the same. My God is da. Keep your little God and find yourself a soul. I watched this beautiful, beautiful movie. It's called Alive Inside. United States, right now, there are about 16,000 nursing homes. 16,000. With at least 600 people each. Maybe a few less than the really expensive ones. But they were built on a specific model that was supposed to be somewhere between jail and a hospital. At first, retirement homes were like homes. Small, nice, where you had nursing care. Someone would come and help you. They were homes. Now, they take these people, and numbers are pretty similar all over the world. Half of them have no visitors, ever. We've talked about the violence and the abuse in some of them, but of course they're not all of them. You get both kinds of people. You get people who just get off on abusing people working there, and you get deep, heart-driven people working there. So this man came in with this outrageous idea. Because one man can't change anything. One person can't change anything. A small group of 5, 10 people can't do anything, right? We can't do anything. We're weak. We need a movement. We need 1,000. We need 1,000,000. One man went in there and taped it. You'll probably see it on YouTube, but you can see this whole movie alive inside. It's on Netflix now. There's this 194-year-old man right at the beginning, first 5 seconds of the movie. He's sitting there, supposedly with Alzheimer's, in this chair. His daughter's coming in. She's trying to talk to him. You get a word, maybe edgewise, at one. He has no idea who she is. No idea where he is. He's drooling. He's sitting in a room full of people that are they are dead. They're the living dead. These are the castaways again. These are elders that we no longer have use for because they become an adult. This is what we've been taken over by, guys. You don't need to read the paper to know this. You can see it. You can feel it. I know you're feeling this right now. So, one of the things I knew about this man is that he used to sing gospel music. So they put a pair of headphones on him, and they played something beautiful for him. It wasn't a truck. It didn't take months, and then we'll see. It took less than 30 seconds where you see this man start to sit up. His eyes widen. He starts to sing. And the man who gave him the iPad and the headphones said, "What's your favorite song?" So he was talking about Cab Calloway. For young folks out there, we're going back to like the real bebop, jazzy, old stuff, but it's really cool, worth listening to. So most of the people in there, were used to World War I, World War II music, well, probably not World War I, but, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. He started to sing, and I swear to God, I cried right there. I was done. They showed this movie to other people. I guess someone put it on Reddit, redid. You know the thing I mean. Redid it. That thing. And he got hundreds of thousands of replies. People talking to him, saying, my father hasn't moved. They're not seeing. And he went from one place to another and did the same thing. One woman who was just sitting there rocking back and forth got up and danced. danced. Not even after a couple songs, after one song. People not responding at all. Started to move, started to respond, started to speak. Not even a whole song. Immediately. So, he took these incredible images to the head of the American Alzheimer's Association and had doctors backing him up, saying, sometimes I prescribe, it's $1,000 a month just for the medication that aren't made for old people, by the way. They're not. There's been no testing on whether or not any of these drugs are effective, and the doctor said they're not effective. They're not. They regulate an issue. They do nothing to help. So he goes, he gets a meeting, he talks to the guy who should actually be amazed by these results, because I'm telling you, it's miraculous. You see it, it's immediate. You'll cry like a little baby. He goes, I don't know, it's too much. It's too much. What are they going to cost? You have cheap electronics in the States. That'd be what? You're going to spend $30? So, this getting posted, and for those of us who talk about how bad YouTube is and how bad Facebook is, social media posted this. Kids started to become involved. There's a lot of people out there that would like to become involved, but, teenagers, they think, what am I going to say? How am I going to open up a conversation with an old person? It's not like when I was in high school and we actually used to just go to seniors' homes, So it's really easy when all you have to say is, what is your favorite song? And sit there with a computer and find it for them, download it for them, put the thing on their head, and all of a sudden these people come alive. This is how easy we could change the world. Easy. Guys. Easy. We treat people that have fallen, maybe. This world is not easy. It is tough. The fact that any of us are not rocking back and forth, sucking our thumbs, drooling a little bit, is miraculous. But there are magical things we can do that cost us nothing. Nothing. We know for a fact, and I'm going to have to give you a little quick neuroscience lesson, of course, but virtually every aspect of TV's entertainment world, TV, movies, video games, music, the local bar, the local dance hall, whatever you want to call it, with pumping lights and sounds that are meant to drive you certain ways, because one of the first things after our cells divide, something happens. There's a beat. One cell starts to beat, then other cells start to beat, and this rhythm becomes your heart. This rhythm sets up all the chain reactions that make life possible. It triggers the brain. So when a child is born and starts to cry, the child is also crying in the same tone and temperament as its mother. This is proven. We know this. The children in the womb are learning. Now, whether you want to say that's just a body reaction, so what? Our bodies are billions and billions of years old. It's taking everything this universe has to offer to create us. This planet is, of course, sexual. Everything here is sexual. It depends on the intent of the usage. There's nothing wrong with dancing, and of course music drives us, and of course we like sex, or there would have been one guy and the story would have ended, right? We've been there. Okay, well, you know what, Eve? What do you want to do? Nothing. As we know, this is not the story of this planet. It's not. Why are we all so mixed? With a little bit of scary bug DNA. I don't even want to know who fell in love with a beetle, but we fall in love, right? This turned against us? Oh my God. Even the suspension of disbelief can be entertaining. But violence is getting glorified now. Sitting passively, watching The Dark Knight Rises, playing Grand Theft Auto, running over police officers, shooting them with guns. A fun way to relax, right? Forget about the real life for a little bit. What's the harm in that? But the evidence, which we already felt, we knew certain things were wrong. We know this. We do. It's not good. Examining young men, and specifically because we're going to talk about the two things men are being triggered with. Specifically, women are getting the outcropping of this, but men are being triggered, and it's killing our guys. It is raping them. There are visible alterations in MRI scans after 1 week of playing a violent video game. 1 week. Any age. In particular, there's a significant decrease in the activation of all the prefrontal lobe portions of the brain. So, here comes the little lesson. Try not to fall asleep. The prefrontal cortex is a so-called thinking part of the brain. It deals with concentration, decision-making, very important, self-control, and the inhibition, while the part, it basically starts to activate part of the limbic system, so-called emotional center, serves many emotions here, but can be triggered for depression, anger, aggression, impulsive behavior, and empathy. Hold that for later. To my knowledge, all of the studies showing actual brain differences in those who play a violent video game versus those who do not. Those who watch a violent TV show against those that do not. There are brain changes after 5 minutes of television now, because they've been working on this for a while. And of course your television, your entertainment was set up by Crowley. Who is not scary to me, but scary, kind of smart and well trained. Now, of course, just because the brain has changed doesn't prove anything, apparently, because we're still having these things, and our shows are more and more violent. You can't watch almost any kind of movie, anything. And I think most of us have turned off the television. But do you think if it was all bad, we would be dealing with billions of aggressive, violent young killers, which is not the case. But the findings are intriguing and beg the question, does the activation of the limbic system, the oldest part of our brain, and the inhibition of the prefrontal cortex predispose one to violent behavior? Relatively easy to test. And it has been, of course. Virginia Tech Research Division showed students several non-violent movies, followed by super violent movies. The results indicated the violent films increase hostile behavior after one movie across the board. In men specifically, though. The women didn't react. The men did. So, guys who have thought they're being targeted, absolutely, you are, my brothers. The results of that study provided cautions for parents. Immature and or aggressive children should not have access to any violent films. But they weren't testing children. This is what it does to 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Now, before the age of 25, we can argue whether or not you have all of your marbles together, or you're just a walking hormone. No offense, my brothers. But you know what I'm saying. But the results. So not only does the aggressive behavior occur right after viewing, it remains with individuals for quite some time. The study indicates this is not only disturbing, you have been traumatized. Now, another university, specifically for children and family research, found that children who watch violent movies are more likely to hold unsympathetic because they're younger, so we're immediately killing their empathy, right? Malicious and scary. That specifically, they begin to they view the world then. Their worldview changes. It changes to something that is unsympathetic, malicious. It's a scary place, which stimulates aggression. Suggests that children are, of course, more likely to exhibit combative behavior while becoming desensitized. MRI scans of children who viewed film or television violence had a similar look when compared to those who actually violently acted out. For every study, there will also be a naysayer, right? Gory video game, violent TV show can be a great babysitter. This means Junior is more likely to happily stay at home out of trouble watching TV. Globally, the video game industry brought in $66 billion 2012. 85% of those games contain violence. Of course, money is often the ultimate incentive to maintain the status quo, just like drugging our elders and our children. Our babies are being drugged now. Brain changes, aggressive behavior, poor decision making. Evidence continues to mount. And the whole process is reminiscent of when cigarette smoking became linked to cancer. lung disease. Just about everyone sensed it was true. Big money tobacco companies kept funding study after study to say there was actually no proof. 50 years from now, we will all look back and wonder why it took so long, that the evidence is just overwhelming. And meanwhile, lawmakers are currently proposing increased tax sales on violent video games. The money would of course raise and fund mental health. You know, the thing I played for you Tuesday? What do they do for product placement? Perception management. That's what they're going to do. They're going to pull the old Rothschild thing. Yeah, I know we suck, but we're going to give you some money and you can shut the hell up. Well, researchers offer more and more evidence. Motion Picture Association of America, which represents the 6th largest Hollywood Crowley-based studios, stepped up recently and announced that they would do their part by enlarging. They're going to make the R bigger. Seriously, that's they're a way bigger R. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. It is a powerful tool, right? Just like smokers who have developed rationality on why it's okay to keep puffing away. And when they used to tell us it was good for us and get us addicted, and actually just before they finally admitted it was bad for us, they increased how addictive it was. So not only is it addictive physically, it's mentally addictive now. There are drugs in it. And no matter how many times they change the findings, there are drugs in your cigarettes. So it wakes you up at night. But specifically and interestingly, it affects men more than women. All of these things. You probably say to me, Trace, it's just coincidence. They're not attacking men. They obviously hate women. Oh, they obviously hate women, but how come man starts with ma? What about porn? What about all the strip clubs out there? So, that's a good place to send a man because he's not raping a girl if he's sitting in there. If we're bringing our kids and letting them go to places with screaming music and the beat of the drum, it's good for the sexual energy, right? You know what I see? And I realize I see things and I'm probably a little crazy. I'm not denying that. But I see people with like straws coming out of their heads and something is feeding on them. But porn? Second hour we're going to play with words a little bit. It's interesting that GMO corn has the same effect as porn, especially on the male brain. Oh, Children of the Corn comes to mind. Sex, right? Sex. So, men who watch pornography are actually shrinking their brains, dulling their responses to actual sexual stimulation. And the empathy center, so again, triggering your lymphatic system to react strangely, and turning off the front of your brain, where you can think. It's Not the first time, of course, researchers have found a possible link between regular viewing of pornography, which is becoming worldwide, an epidemic, which is spreading. We have a neurological epidemic on this planet. Could these two factors and how terror porn is pushed, even on our shows, and I'm going to try my best to no longer do that, whether or not it's happening, guys, and we realize it's happening, but being graphic about it hurts you, and I'm sorry for that. I didn't realize the damage. It's the first time researchers are seeing that people who spend more time looking at it not only hurt themselves, they pass on a certain kind of brain to their children. It's very hard to prove that porn watching causes changes in the brain. But this world is in the grip of a pornography pandemic. It has become so serious it should be taken the same way as teenage smoking or drunk driving. And I am not a prude. I'm not. I flirt with everyone. You've heard me. I actually like people, though. I am not trying to suck the energy from them. But sexual exploitation and addiction, left untreated, causes psychological damage. And there is a lot of science now proving this. Porn sites get more visitors per month than Netflix, although, you can find porn just about anywhere. But certainly more than Netflix, Amazon, and Twitter combined. This thing in front of us that they just gave us, like the microwave, which they had had for 50 years. Don't tell me they didn't know what the microwave would do to us. They absolutely friggin' knew this. Porn, they knew too, because that was one of the first things allowed on the web. Looking at images of healthy men between the ages of 21 and 45. Healthy, starting off healthy. Taking the images of the brains to measure volume, to see how brains reacted to these pictures. There is a notable difference in men who abstained from these things than those who regularly accessed sexual videos, images. And, people are no longer ashamed of this thing, so they'll tell you, yes, I watch it, or no, I don't. The volume of the striatum, the brain region that has been associated with reward processing and motivated behavior, was much smaller. The more the pornography consumption of the participants reported. So the more you watch, the deeper the brain changes. Moreover, they found that another region of the brain, also part of what's called the striatum, that is active when people see sexual stimuli, shows less activation the more pornography is watched. So researchers are saying pornography in moderation is not too bad. Depends on what kind of pornography it is, because I tell you one thing that they have not talked about, neither of these groups, Does the brain understand when you're doing something or when you're watching something? Does it understand the difference between thinking a thought and doing a behavior? Because as we've talked about before, your brain does not know if you're doing it or you're seeing it once you become emotionally involved. And that's the difference. This is a trigger. This is why some people do not react violently watching a violent show. Once you become emotionally invested in something, your brain thinks you're doing it. A rape scene, you either are being raped or you are the rapist. From watching it the first time. If you have had a sexual encounter that was not positive in your life, by you being in a room while that is on, it is happening again, your brain does not know. It's just a movie. Because they lull you with that, ridiculous music, maybe a preamble, maybe it's a little fun, and I've told you I love killing stuff. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop that now. I a little bit dig it. Women don't seem affected as much, but I don't know if I have that many female hormones because I've always liked physical things. I haven't gone out and killed anyone, but I do have anger issues. You've heard that. Now, some of these things can be triggered from long exposure. Some of these things are being triggered probably without our knowledge. We are set up by words and deeds, and I want to talk to you about brain injury. Not just brain injury, but what is insanity? Who are these people being institutionalized? Because institutionalization, I don't care if it's a hospital and they give you pudding. They're drugging you. And they are treating you in a certain way. But in the shamanistic view that all of our peoples shared, and apparently not that friggin' long ago, mental illness signals the birth of a healer. So mental disorders, spiritual emergencies, spiritual crisis need to be regarded as such to aid a healer being born. Because of the disconnect of our society, where the young are kept away from the old, where when someone acts out inappropriately or becomes in trouble, needs some help, they are not only shamed, they are cast out. Being cast out is the most dangerous and the most hurtful thing you can do to a human being. It is. Isolation kills us. It's worse than being physically completely disabled. Isolation kills us. And that's what they're doing. So us, with this new world civilized idea, view so much mental illness now. The factors I've been telling you about are a big part of that. They had to teach us to hate each other. They have to teach us to train us to fight. Guys come back after killing someone and they're messed up and we're wondering why, but they have a drug for that. You cannot drug up someone enough to fix our hatred of hurting each other. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy, and I will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Turtle Island News with Tracey Kennedy. Live, of course, Revolution Radio, Studio 8, TraceElements.info. You think Wolf Spirit Radio. Good morning. I forgot to mention you guys. Of course, people, by the people and the Awake Radio Group. Before I move on, I want you to understand this one thing. We are being taught from birth to hate each other, men and women. Men and women are being inundated with images of this new rape culture. We are being surrounded by images and language and laws and other everyday phenomena that validate and perpetuate rape. Rape culture as jokes and TV and music and advertisement and legal jargon and laws and words and imagery make violence against women and sexual coercion in general so normal that people believe rape is inevitable. Rather than viewing the culture of rape as a problem to change, people in a rape culture think the persistence of rape is just the way things are, that we are just like that human beings are just animalistic in nature. Which is odd, because do you know that neutered cats, male cats, are almost better mothers than the mother who birthed them? Now you'll probably say, Tracy, I'm not a cat. It's not the same. Well, we're talking about a hunter here. Cats are hunters. I told you about my cat who went in outside and just grabbed a bird. These are indoor cats. They have been neutered. He grabbed a bird and still hunts. Now you would say, of course, that, our nature too is that of hunters. But I'm saying the majority of us do not hunt. We hunt our little butts to the grocery store and back, and that's our hunting. And we do it with a list. Although I've seen the difference between men and women shopping. Men still they're basically hunters. They go, they know exactly what they're getting, they come back. Women, we gotta touch stuff. We are browsing. We might miss a sale. And not all women, not all men, of course. I realize I have extra high levels of estrogen, so I need to touch anything that's around. But I'm saying we are having to be trained. They're having to train us to kill. They're having to train us to hate. And don't even let me start on the gaying of men. And the little effeminate way that men are being pushed to. So how can we have both? Because they are forcing a psychological, neurological, brain-changing, so physiological level change on us. As people who can't relate to each other. And I've got nothing against gay men or gay women. Do what you do, but I don't want to see it. If I'm not involved, if I'm not being invited to the bedroom, I don't need to hear about it. And if you're effeminate, fine. Be that way. If you're really choosing not to do it. I want to see more love. This is what I'm missing. Love. We've heard people talk about sexual energies and how you can use this to heal, and yes, you can. If you're recycling that energy, you can absolutely use it to change the way you feel. Physically change your body, your partner's body. Give birth to an immaculate child, stronger, physically able, mentally more conscious. But I am not seeing sex used in that way. And this planet, everything has sex. This is the most sexually charged atmosphere ever, and they're killing us with it. The media imagery perpetuates rape by excusing it, validating myths about rape, and even sexualizing rape. It's frequently reinforced through Lifetime movies like She Fought Alone and most episodes of Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. This kind of media perpetuates rape, forces you to watch if you're watching it, because it continues to shame and silence. The majority of the survivors who were raped by friends or by family. It allows perpetrators to avoid dealing with their problems, since they do not match the profile of rapists as seen on TV. Our laws and our lawmakers make light of these things, also contribute to perpetuating that stranger rape myth, that it's always a stranger, that some guy who's following you from dark corner, it's not usually a stranger. Such as the controversial No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act that Representative Chris Smith introduced 2011. Smith wanted to define rape for the purposes of their anti-abortion bill as forcible rape, therefore excluding non-consensual sex and statutory rape, excluding those two things. Huge controversy against this bill, but the problem here is that continued emphasis on the actions of victims in these cases, dissecting whether or not they resisted enough, rather than putting energy into preventing rape by changing the behaviors of the perpetrators. And it's still your fault, your fault, your fault. So that the victim, male or female, because we know it happens to both, it's what happens when someone feels so weak that they can only feel stronger by hurting someone weaker. That's why kids are being attacked. This is what they've done to us. They have to make us crazy to make us fight each other. They have to make us crazy to hate each other. They have to make us crazy to hurt each other. And rape is not sex, it is about control. Who is the master and who is the slave? Master still starts with Ma. It does. It is about the division of our people from who we are. And rape culture is a contract that we never actually signed. We don't believe it. Deep down, we know right from wrong. We are born with these things. The code in our DNA knows right and wrong. Children know right from wrong. We are born with certain things that we do not have to be taught. In the West, and most of the world right now, because this is where we are not trained how to deal or even taught to acknowledge the existence of any kind of psychic phenomena, an actual spiritual world. So when I tell you that when I see people leaving bars like that, because I live pretty close, I can see it, I see them looking, I don't know, guys, it's like there's a straw in their head. It is. You see it. You can see people different and changed when they've done certain things. I'm not saying these are rapists I'm looking at. I'm saying people who've walked out of a bar, people who've walked out of a strip club, and they think some people have tried to convince me that they are getting sexual energy from this. You are not. You are being fed upon. And it's apparent that the parasites, are turning up the juice factor. The world in many parts is clearly unstable. And this is a direct reflection of the personal status of each being, no matter what that reason may be. So in effect, no entity can expect balance unless they have come in possession of it through constant reasoning, persistence for the clarity within. Lastly, the meat of all this Western occult knowledge, and it is occult. Our lives are occulted, like it or not. All indicates that the lodges and the witchcraft and the spells being used against us are all offshoots of some mother lodge, the ISIS, the dollar sign. It's their blueprint. It is their great work at play, as the end, according to them, is written. So is the beginning. About 1600 years ago. Now, that's why they have so many mind-controlled drones. Zombies. The masses, I guess. Using their power to formulate their prophetic beliefs of the future tied to revelations by the Christians. This is novice level world building at best. What the earth is experiencing now is written in the Sibylline oracles. As such as once the hornet's nest of the east has been disturbed, they, the Arabs, the followers of Allah, will go out amongst the land causing chaos without cease. They are strong in their belief in their God, and their God is rewarding them. As they go around a little cube, the little black Xbox, and have the Ma inside trapped, and for sure, through our projections, which are beyond time and space and life, we are not insects trapped in the web of Baal, Jabalan, waiting to be juiced. Not now, not ever. When I leave here to go to a world that I have already built using soul power, because I visit it every so often, I close my eyes and loathe leaving it to wake up to this dream. That's my great work. The rest is illusion. Or maybe illuse Zion. We have forgotten the code. The moral code. Yes. We no longer teach ethics. This is gone in this world. What do we do when people reach a crisis? Because we are reaching crisis at this time. What do we do? We put them in straitjackets. Some sit zoned out on medications. Others scream and rock back and forth. So this is how healers who are attempting to be born are treated in this culture. And this is a loss. There is no one here beyond redemption. It is a loss that a person who is finally being realigned with power from the other world is just being wasted. We throw people away. Another way to say this, I guess, which makes more sense to some, is that we are not trained in how to deal or even taught to acknowledge the existence of more than this. That people who look brain dead are dead. That people who are not speaking are dead. That people who are old and have dementia are gone. A lot of them get dementia when they are put away and cast away from their families within a very short amount of time. People who are lonely and alone get dementia, although neurological disorders are at such a major level. Do you know how our children die? Seriously, our children worldwide, the number one cause of death, boys and girls under 18, worldwide. Are they shot in wars? Car accident? Do they fall out of a plane? They kill themselves. Number one cause of death of anyone under 18 on planet Earth right now is suicide. And that's the truth. Heavy doses of antipsychotic drugs and compounds just make the problem here worse. And after a little while of institutionalized help, for all practical purpose, the person is insane. The way we treat things, the ways we are being treated, prevents the integration that could lead to real soul development, to real growth in an individual who received energies, who are getting messages, not just because of what we're being trained and what we're hearing, because there are other things happening right now, and I know you feel it. There are beings hanging around us. There are beings especially hanging around people who are institutionalized entities that are invisible to most people. But shamans, psychics, even people who are empathic. And if you don't want to call it empathic, you can just call it that thing that the shark has. It's sonic. It's a vibration. You feel it. Like it or not, you do. And you know when something else is in the room. Your cats turn their heads and look at something, but you did as well. Probably before they did. Maybe you just didn't look fast enough because you didn't want to see that empty space that you know is not empty. There are many things causing crisis in people. And I'm not looking at things as good or bad now. Some of these entities are forcing us through. We are being forced. It is not a soft journey. This is not gentle. And what's apparent to me is these things trying to get the medications of all kinds, even the words, even the TV, even the video games, and the effects out of the bodies that these beings are trying to merge with to increase the patient's. It does increase your pain. It does. The beings are acting almost like a kind of excavator in the energy field of people. They are really fierce. The people that they are doing this to are screaming and yelling. It's very, very difficult. You know, in the Degara tradition. The community helps a person reconcile the energies of both worlds. The world of the spirit that he or she is merged with, and the village and the community. That person is able then to serve as a bridge between the worlds and help the living with information and healing they need. We are not taught the keys to our own code. I woke up this morning and I have to tell you about the power of the word itself. All of these things being used against us because it's the same spell, right? It's the same spell. That here are temples of my words. I hear this in my head and I see these weird looking structures, some made of, it looks like slime, while others like crystalline palaces. And words, I think to myself, yes, words. Words are living entities, beings. They are given birth through a man's mouth, and they continue to live in other dimensions, becoming his home at these crossover moments. And the sight of these structures will never leave me. Even if it is a dream, it is a vivid one. And a brief soul journey can give you a valuable insight to the power of words and make clear the meaning of even scriptural references like, "For I say unto you that for every foolish word which men speak, they will have to answer for it in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be found guilty." Now in my research I go over a whole bunch of things because I, am obsessive. There's no fix for this one. But I found this weird statement. It was called the Book of Splendors, and I can't remember the author's name. I think it was Levi. His last name is Levi. Interesting name. But anyway, for the world to come, all good words spoken in the world at hand would take on living forms. And you are creatures of goodness. You who manifest through the word that which is true. And the spoken word is powerful because it brings forth a thought. And a thought is a state and at least the beginning of every manifestation. In every book ever written it said there was the word. And whatever being that was that gave us the power of the word, there was a time when it was so powerful that we said giraffe. We didn't just name the animals, we said the name and they manifested. I cannot translate these things in any other way. For the mouth who speaks from the fullness of the heart. This means that whatever appeals to you is where your consciousness lies, and that the level of consciousness is revealed by the words you speak. So what you watch matters. Your brain does not know that is not real if you are committed or even allow yourself to go to alpha state. Then you are dreaming. So you're not just seeing it, experiencing it, you are doing it. According to the Kabbalah, the name of God is found in the vowel sounds because they are the vibration of a life form. They are the very vibration that formed life itself. The animating spirit of the world. This is said over and over again. The sound of the spoken word can be measured by its rate of vibration. And that vibration can create pictures visible to us on new devices that are made right now. There's a drum-like instrument with a rubbery material across the top, and a mouthpiece extends from it. It can be spoken into. Then a crystalline mixture is spread on the top. As different words are spoken into the mouthpiece, the crystals form different shapes. Vibration effect of the word butterfly causes a crystal to do, it looks like a friggin' butterfly. Snowflake. The pattern of a snowflake, I swear to God, lovely words actually create lovely pictures. No, they're not getting up and flying off, but this perhaps is just because we don't believe they can. Harsh words form beautiful designs. No, not at all. They form haphazard, even grotesque forms, as ugly to the eye as to the ear. The invisible takes a form before our eyes based on the words. How important then are the words we speak and what we see? The words of the wise man's mouth are glorious, but the lips of a fool will ruin him. Perhaps things not so strange. And the power of thought, because the spoken word is powerful, because it brings forth a thought. And a thought is the start of every manifestation. This subject has been discussed, and I found this little piece, the college in San Diego State from 1957, that they had been talking about forms and were wondering whether there was any scientific basis for them. So there was an experiment done with a group who gathered to concentrate their effects on developing a thought form. Their teacher had them relax, bring to their brain waves in alpha state. Got them to alpha state. You had to do this. You just have to relax. All you have to do is relax, or turn on TV for exactly 34 seconds now. Actually 32 seconds, so it's probably computer related, like the cube and all the AI computer languages. Anyway, he proceeded to describe very vividly a dragon. As he did so, all the students were able to picture the detail as he described them. Once their concentration was completely unified, they said it happened is a mist began to form in a shape, and that it held its shape until the students lost the power of concentration. So they concluded that thoughts are energy. In another state of motion, perhaps, that collective thinking is also very powerful. So when 2 billion people or 2 million people watch a TV show for one night, for 1 hour, at the exact same time, okay, put that into friggin' perspective. So sensing certain types of thought forms established in places where people of the same mind gather, shopping malls, bars, places of worship, strip clubs, sex clubs, because they have those. Is there not obviously a mood connected with each of these places. If we are out in the woods, and I mean that we sense the thought forms that have been built up by the mental atmosphere of the location that we just made. Psychics, sensitive people, empathetic people, which we are trying, or not we, that the parasites are trying to rape out of our men, because what's happening to our men is rape. We need to feel that. This rape culture is not just what's happening to the women here. It's what's happening to the men, that they don't feel it. Because it's the only way men can be like that. It is. Once we understand that, we see there's nothing supernatural about these things. It is just how it is, that even in our weakened state, even without learning the lessons, even without the elders, because they've been shipped off and drugged and are allowed to die alone, our word leaves a thought behind that continues to live one way or another. And these words produce thought forms that become part of our own personal energy field that creates a distinct vibration of its own. And this vibration is like the kind sent out by a tuning fork, and it works on the same principle. When the sound vibrations are projected on an object with the same natural frequency, the object vibrates. This is fact. We've all seen it. We've felt it. And objects with different frequencies remain untouched. I know, it sounds weird. A Dr. Berduc of Bordeaux invented a machine that actually records the vibrations of thought. It registers a high speed, a strong vibration, a vibratory effect, when an intelligent person approaches the instrument. At a very slow rate when someone with a low mentality comes near. And this can just be strange thoughts. And you can read about this in his book called Finding the Third Eye. Someone who is sick, but more than sick, someone who is dangerous. But it shows that thoughts are energy, that in a certain state of motion, the more the force, the higher that vibration. You need to be strong in this. If you are a very powerful, very crazy person, you will make that thing chime. The slower the rate, the less force it contains. It becomes almost negative in action. It will disappear on its own. So when they get people invested into a series, and then throw in a rape scene, after people are invested into 2 seasons of it, what have we just made? And our whole body goes into action when we think. Our muscles and larynx move. Even if it's unfeelable, even if it's undetectable, science have discovered that the chest movements are directly related to thoughts, and even succeeded in recording them graphically. Each type of thought has a set wavelength. If you physically, for a certain amount of time, sit there on a chair, but believe strong enough that you are working out, your body is actually reacting, and your brain says, okay, she's working out, that's awesome. Or whatever the brain says. I'm sure the brain and body have to be a little bit excited about that. But it's happening. In 1945, a Sir Alexander Cannon professor, doctor, learned to compare types of thoughts at a glance with a mathematical interpretation from graphs. The graphs showed the effects of different types of music on individuals. From The Power Within, I think chapter 8 or 9. It was early. We've been looking at this for a long time. These graphs show another amazing thing. The thoughts of one person actually influence another person's by the mere mental atmosphere produced by these thoughts, and it's detectable by their respiration. They breathe. They're breathing. They don't have to know what you're thinking. They just have to be in the room with you when you're thinking it. So if you're sitting there watching something horrific and your partner or your child is in the next room, they are being affected by it. What if it's a powerful thought? Maybe the people in your neighborhood are being affected by it. Is that out of the range of science? And we can control our thoughts by taking deep, slow breaths, like the men did in prison. Many of the meditation techniques require deep, slow breathing. This is good because it keeps the body in a mental state of balance and at this time beneficial to the body. It's been noted that mantras, sounds, effective aids in meditation, either spoken out loud or whispered or thought on. You don't have to say the magic words, you can think the magic words. But the most powerful of the three are the ones that are repeated in the thought alone. Not surprising, because only in silence can we hear the inner voice. So if you get angry a lot, do you have to say, okay, tomorrow at 2 o'clock I'm going to be angry? Or does anger just come? If it just comes to you, it's because it's been ripened. It is a mature thought, if you know what I mean. It is something you have cultivated, you've worked on. This is very important because they are working on us. We need to fight back. This is how we do it. This is how we break their code and implant ours. So nurturing thoughts of contentment. By that alone, diseases can be cured. Worrisome thoughts filled with negativity create disease in you. It does, and it may actually be contagious. Think about them apples. This is because our immune system is specifically set up to release adrenaline when we are in danger. Stressful thoughts as well as other stress-filled stimuli, such as graphically violent movies, trigger the flow of adrenaline into the bloodstream. At the same time your heart is beating faster, acid is being produced in your stomach, and your body does not know the difference between actual bodily danger and the act of thinking about a stressful situation. Even when it is only in the mind, even if it is only the mind that is occupied with something negative, the body will prepare anyway. And if the excessive production of hormones continues, it eventually dilapidates you. Makes it ripe for all kinds of physical problems. So gaining control of your thought and emotion is important for good health. And people may even appear to be physically made of the exact same thing. In reality, we are made of different chemical elements that respond directly to their own level of consciousness. And have you ever wondered why you feel kinship with some people at the very first second, and why certain others you haven't even met just repel you? It is their consciousness that sets up their personal vibration. when we are of the same mind, think of that term, of the same mind, we are in tune with them. We really are in tune with them. Harmonic, melodic. Sometimes our hearts beat at the same rhythm. We are like the object that vibrates with the tuning fork. And those of completely different vibratory consciousness from our own may not even seem as attractive to us. Even if everyone's saying, oh my God, that person's so hot, you're just like, I don't know. Our own growth, our vibration, is recorded in our auric field. They have made weapons to specifically know what that is. So it's another freaking thing we gotta worry about. No, we don't have to worry about it. We just get ourselves together, and when we're being attacked, we will know. It's like, I knew this guy who worked as a security guard, and he told me this really, I thought, really cool thing at the time, that he'd sit in this booth and watch people run the room. In the store, if someone was going to shoplift, he said 9 times out of 10 he could just look at them and think, put that down, and they would turn around and they'd put it down. So those two people were communicating by thought. One supposedly didn't know the other one was there. So you will know if you're being targeted, and you are strong enough to do something about it. Your right as a human being, as an earth being, as a person of this universe, gives you the right to defend yourself. That's why people who have a really strong belief in a particular God is strong. They are feeding that God. That's why the whole one God thing, somebody's very hungry and sucking the juice out of us, but I'm not saying there's not power in that. I'm just saying you could believe in something else, or that you are magnificent and could be many different things. This level, though, when you hear what I'm saying, it's not just the words I'm saying that affects you. It's the tone of my voice. It's the emotion in my voice. It's a feeling, and hopefully you're feeling what I feel. Our thought forms appear in our sleep, our daily lives, and they color reaction to all things. So when I say that we are on a shamanistic journey, I mean each and every one of us, good guys, bad guys, every one of us. A person is able, after going through these things, hopefully together, person is able to serve as a bridge between the worlds and the words, and help the living with information, the healing they need. Thus the spiritual crisis will end, and there will be a birth of another healer. It's not just detoxifying that we need to do. Do you know what I mean? The other world's relationship with our world is very complex. What does a tree produce? An apple tree produces apples. They are eaten. Probably produces a whole bunch of other things that are being consumed as well. Know that your thoughts are being consumed. Or so are our children. So we need to be aware of that. The beings who are increasing the pain, people going through this, whether it's in an inmate in some institutional ward, but they're actually attempting to merge in order to get messages through to this world. Some are using us, but if we are being used by where we put ourselves in, it's the choice that makes the difference. If you choose to go to a strip club, if you choose to watch a horror movie, if you choose to watch porn, you are going to get someone who thinks, oh my God, it's juicy fruit. You become tasty to things. People who are being put in these wards, especially the crazy house people. This is another thing. Of course, most likely attacked by all of these things I'm telling you about. But have we not all gone through this stuff where we feel a little crazy? I feel a little crazy all the time. It's just we are getting no assistance. We are getting no guidance in how to be a bridge between these worlds. What happens? Since we have not learned the code of our own bodies, our teachers are taken away from us. A lot of them are killed. But the results can be sustaining the initial disorder of energy, and maybe even aborting the birth of a healer. Our culture has consistently ignored the birth of the healers. Consequently, there will be a tendency from the other world to keep trying as many people as possible in an attempt to get somebody's attention. They are trying harder too. I've told you before that we are being helped, and they are banging on the door, and they are no longer quiet. Just like the native people in Winnipeg said, we are not having another vigil. I'm like, yeah, baby. The beings who live with us on this world, it's as much theirs as ours, are banging our door down. I think that's part of the neurological disorder, plus the other crap that's going on. The spirits are drawn to people whose senses have not been anesthetized. The sensitivity is pretty much read as an invitation. It's why men are being desensitized to women, to children, so that they will stay in certain little groups and be unavailable to the higher needs. There will be no more male shaman if these parasites living here have anything to say about it. That's why they're attacking our men, making them crazy, shaking them a little bit. Those who have developed so-called mental disorders, the ones who are sensitive, which is viewed in most cultures now as oversensitivity. Indigenous cultures didn't see it that way. And indigenous cultures are all over the world. And as a result, sensitive people don't experience themselves as overly sensitive. This new parasitic culture that most of us are living in, it is an overload of the culture that they're in, and that is wrecking them. The frantic pace, the bombardment of our senses, the violent energy that characterizes the way we live now is overwhelming to sensitive people. Schizophrenia and foreign energy. Now with schizophrenia, there's a very special receptivity to a flow of images and information, which can't be controlled. When this kind of rush occurs, at a time that is not personally chosen, and particularly when it comes with images that are scary, contradictory, that person goes into a frenzy. You've seen that. What is required in that situation is to separate that person's energy from any extraneous foreign ones by using a shamanistic practice. A lot of times it's called a sweep. It's a way to clear the latter out of your energies. We probably all need that right now. Probably all a little schizophrenic. But don't worry, there's a way out, and we will talk about this now and next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. Love you guys. Bye for now.